Good
Hey, it's a
morning.
podcast.
Indeed.
Consider yourself podcasted.
Absolutely. It's another beautiful day here in the world. We've got some transportation content coming at you hot off the presses in
It has.
this deeply unpredictable world.
I've had less than one cup of coffee. It has
Wow.
been 8,539 days since 9/11, and it is only 695 more days until the release of DreamWorks' Shrek 5.
Wait, 695 days until Shrek 5? Wasn't it like 580? Did they push the release out?
That's correct. That's correct. There's been an update in the release.
Goodness
It's gonna
gracious.
it's gonna come out. It's like December 21st or 3rd or something.
Yeah.
It's not Christmas Day, but it'll feel like it.
Wow. Wow. Well, I have some exciting news to kick us off, if that's okay.
Mom, Dad, I'm gay. No, what's up?
No, I got some feedback on the pod via email.
No.
Yeah, from someone called R. I believe they run the Bad Socialist podcast. Give them a plug. I'm a bad socialist myself, so R, we definitely appreciate the feedback and just for tuning in. But I just want to say, Ben, it's definitely echoing some of my feelings. First is y'all need some editing. Episode should be like 50% as long as it was. Put your contact info and reference links in the podcast show notes, exclamation marks. I've said this. Pick a lane. The world is awash and some dudes shoot the shit and record themselves content. I want to hear horny queers talk about transit policy. I assume that's the brief, so at least R is getting the brief, right? I feel like last week, we were a little less focused on a lot of the content that we typically talk about. I think we meandered a lot. R is telling us to focus in a little bit as we
No, I think
continue to
that's
refine.
good feedback.
I agree.
That's definitely good feedback.
It's very kind.
Because we do have a good 20 to 40% like solid transit oriented content.
Yeah.
And then a good like 40% gooning, which I mean we can pare that down.
Well, no,
but
I think that's all good, but if it's 40 and 20%, that still leaves 40% of, just us kind of filling time.
Yeah, but I miss you.
I miss you too, buddy.
It's jazz, baby. I do appreciate the feedback though.
Yeah, absolutely. But I thought it was really nice that R reached out. I haven't listened to the Bad Socialist podcast, so I'm going to check it out this week. And I encourage any other listeners to do so as well.
All my content this week is not bus related, but traffic deaths related.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do sometimes talk about just transportation. It's not necessarily just bus stuff.
Indeed. I mean, transit policy, city infrastructure, urban planning, all of these things are part of our beat.
In a functioning society, transit is considered part of the transportation network.
We live in a society.
Goodness gracious. No, I just wanted to talk about how Texas is they did away with vehicle inspections.
All together?
I didn't know that other states didn't have it. But it turns out it's only like half the country that has mandatory vehicle inspections, and Texas did away with it.
Huh. Yeah, I did not have to get a vehicle inspection when I got my car registered in Missouri years ago. That's the only state I've ever lived where I haven't had to have some sort of inspection.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I was looking at a study earlier. There's a correlation with roadway fatality rate, but that you can't necessarily imply causation.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an overlap
As
with
it
a
is
lot of
as
other
it is in the
factors.
social sciences. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's just sort of spooky. It just doesn't bode very well.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
we're here in the year 2024, and
Any filters to like keep dangerous vehicles off the road?
yeah. I guess so. It's like the rationale they say is like defective vehicles are not a huge factor. It's not like a big percentage of fatal incidents. Um, and I mean that checks. That passes the smell
Yeah.
test. Just from what I've seen, it's like 5%, 1 in 20. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's not
For
insignificant by
40,000
any
roadway
means.
deaths. That's a lot. Um, in Texas, that's 4,000 roadway deaths a year, or 10 a day. So that's one every
Just
2
in
days.
Texas.
In Texas, this policy.
Yeah.
This policy will kill one person every 2 days in
Yeah.
Texas forever.
It's incredible. Yeah. I mean, there was
Loving
some
that.
good news this last week. I guess it was about eight days ago, so I guess maybe right before we recorded the last episode. But here in Denver, the Denver metro area, we have a central transit authority called the Regional Transportation District, RTD, and it is helpful. They manage, pretty much all of the transit in the entire metro region, which I know a lot of municipalities, cities, urban areas have a hard time because you cross a line and then it's a new transit agency that can cause confusion, fare changes, changes in service, etc. So, at least with the RTD, there's a standard service across the network. I have my gripes with them, of course, but we did institute some service changes, most of which were expansions of service, some returns to prior levels of service. But I'm curious, for you, Ben, as someone who doesn't use, transit as much. I know you typically bike around more than anything else. What would make you want to ride your local transit service more? What would be like the first thing?
Functional service. Functional service. I live at the center of town, right? And I don't take the bus anywhere. And I should be squarely in the group of people who takes the bus, being like low income, living in the heart of downtown. Um, but it's just so remarkably ineffective for getting anywhere that I haven't taken the bus in like 4 years. Um, it would have to come often enough and come close enough to my house to where I it wouldn't be the opportunity cost of doing it wouldn't be like 300% the time of the trip via other means. Yeah, I can hop on a fucking Lime scooter and be like at the river in 10 minutes, a solid 10 minutes. It's 29
So yeah,
blocks.
you can get down to like the library down
I
there,
live at
or
29th Street. So it's like,
really anything. What about getting to work? What bus route would you take to work? Like, do you ever do that if it's like pouring rain or?
it would be the 20. So I would have to walk. What do we got? I'd have to walk to Guad, so maybe half a mile, a 10-minute walk from my house, and then the bus stop is basically right outside work. So, but it comes every 15 minutes, and then it maybe comes
Yeah.
the that's really the key problem. Everyone in the service industry in Austin knows this, right, through lived experience. But
I do
even
prefer
if the bus
good
comes
head on
with
my
good
bus.
headways for the trip there, if the bus back isn't
Sorry,
running,
go ahead.
no, it's okay. If the bus isn't running
Yeah.
when you need to make the trip home,
Yeah.
it's no longer a viable means of transportation. And so transit agencies will look at their ridership numbers and they'll say, oh, well, we only have 10% as many people riding from the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., right? But they're not, I don't think they're able to calculate in the effects of having that night service on the day ridership, right? Because like, New York, 24-hour service, functional service all over, service that serves the population density that exists. Ours, and it's like our service doesn't run all the time. It doesn't run when
Right.
you
Yeah. I
need
mean,
it, and it
my
doesn't go
my
where you need it to go. It doesn't serve
work
the people
schedule
who
just
live here.
shifted a little bit later in the day, and on my way to work, it's not as much of a problem. It's like the same headways as it was a little bit earlier in the day, but now it's so late when I get off my shift that the headways I think on the bus that I need to catch are like every 45 minutes. It's sort of random. But it's really impractical because if I get back to the office, because I typically work in the field, if I get back to the office at the wrong time, I'm liable to have to stand at the bus stop for like 40 minutes, which is just not something I want to do. So in that case, I'll usually either take a scooter to my connection or, try to kill time, but it is super impractical.
Every time I take a scooter, I feel the most exhilarating feeling. I feel so phenomenal. I feel so alive.
I mean, phonetically, scooting is pretty close to gooning.
Just scooting and gooning.
Hi, I'm Scoot
I've been saying
Goon.
boomer. I've been saying boomer gooner all week to myself just to make myself chuckle.
You gotta find a way to get through the days, man.
You just gotta find a way to get through the day sometimes.
Yeah.
At work, I just pretend to be happy, but really aggressively, and it's infectious. It's infectious.
You're describing everyone. At work, I pretend to be happy. I mean, that's maybe 60% of people I know. The other 40% aren't trying, right? They're just obviously miserable. I guess there's like a small percentage of people that I would describe as actually satisfied.
Good God.
That's pretty bleak. Maybe I take it back. I don't know. Hi, I'm Scoot Goon. Or Goon
Hi,
Scoot.
I'm Goon Magooper. Oh no, this is a new one. I'm a never comer permagooner. That's what we were workshopping this week at work.
You've been saying that for weeks to me, but I know I get it hot off the presses before it's
One of my
street
coworkers
ready.
said to me, Are you like a gooning? Is that your thing now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." And this is the guy who told me the word, made me laugh. And now I've outgooned him. So
Wow.
full circle, baby.
And I guess it is a good question for you. Like, I mean, I've known you for a long time, and transportation, biking infrastructure, these things have been your thing for a long time. I would say that, your interest in them probably piloted mine. But, I'm curious, like, is your fascination with gooning purely comedic? Like, I'm having a hard time parsing it out if it's something that you're truly passionate about or if you're just kind of having a laugh.
No, it is a bit.
It's a bit, yeah.
It's
a bit.
It is a bit. Life is but a bit.
Mm-hmm. But a bit.
Life is but performance art for the folks at home.
Life is bit a butt. Life, but, bit, bot.
That's jazz, man.
The butt bit bot is an AI
The thing about
platform
jazz is it transcends all language, man. Scoo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Scoo-doo-doo. Shoo-ba-doo-doo-doo. That's jazz.
That's jazz.
What's the deal with jazz? I'm going to do this whole episode as Jerry.
There you go.
But no, that's all the transit-oriented content we have this week, folks. Tune in for 45 minutes of talking about gooning and catching up on each other's professional lives. Is knocking doors going okay?
Yeah, it is. I'm having a lot of success. It's an interesting job, right? And I experience a lot of dissonance with it, from time to time. But at the same time, it's like it is something that I can do that not a lot of other people can with a lot of proficiency. And so, in that way, I do have some job security and some flexibility, which is nice. Our schedule shifted, so now there's like a mandatory 5 days a week and there's an optional sixth, but the days are shorter, which I sort of appreciate. It gives me a little bit more flexibility throughout the day. And yeah, right now I'm leading the network. I'm leading the country. We have offices all over the country, and I currently am first place in the company for 2025. So off to a good start.
Keep
Hoping
that
that I
shit up.
can, yeah, hoping that I can, maybe transition into a role where I'm helping with recruiting and development of talent a little bit more. I mean, that's the biggest thing is we hire a lot of people, and it's a really weird and difficult job. You go out and talk to strangers all day and you try to convince them to do something they weren't thinking about doing. It is not necessarily easy. It's not very complicated. It's very simple, but it is not easy. And it takes a particular kind of person to be motivated to do it. I think anybody can really do it, but it takes a certain motivation to actually go out there and do it. And, disposition helps, but we can teach skills. So I'm hoping that I can help bring in more people that might be able to produce on a higher level consistently by refining our recruiting methods a little bit, searching for the right people, so that we don't waste our time on folks that are just gonna end up saying, "Hey, this isn't worth it." If I'm not, making a bonus, there's a lot you can do to go make, around what is the Denver minimum wage. So, yeah, but it's going well. I can't complain. It's been an interesting transition period for me, transitioning out of nonprofit administration. I do miss some of that work. Going and doing sales every day is exhausting. But I'm good at it, and it's paying the bills, which I can't complain about. Yeah, how about you? I mean, other than slinging gumbo, how's your development
No,
going? You
no.
been working?
Oh yeah, I published a couple interesting maps this week. The wife just left town for a couple weeks, so I'm gonna have some time to do some programming. My other wife making maps on the internet.
What
um,
what maps did you post?
so go to censusmaps.org/testmap. One word. This is population
Censusmaps.org.
density.
That's
This
probably
is
like
population density for the whole United States.
just density. Nice.
You'll see it works for everywhere. It's dank as hell. You'll note the eastern seaboard is packed full of people, right? This is
Yeah.
one of the reasons I like this 3D visualization is like it really gets that point across.
Yeah.
See, it just 2D doesn't do it justice. You feel me? Especially with density.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. And if you, control and scroll, you can see from the angle, which is really cool looking at
So
the
look,
eastern seaboard.
look at Atlanta. Atlanta's not a city. That's like
Wow.
that one definitely stuck out to me. Atlanta is not a city. It's a suburb. Chicago's looking
circles.
good. Detroit is looking kind of sad. Oklahoma, same thing with Oklahoma City. Not a city, just a suburb. San Antonio, just one giant suburb. Oh, and then I think the other takeaway is LA has the density to support all kinds of transportation that it doesn't have. That's fucking me up. LA looks like
Yeah. The
I don't know,
density,
like New York. It looks almost like
I
New
mean,
York.
it's denser than everywhere in Denver for like 3 Denvers of area.
Yeah, Phoenix looks smaller than I thought it would.
Well, yeah, no, I mean Phoenix is notoriously the most sprawling metropolis. I mean, it's also just in area. Phoenix is huge, which is why it contains so many people. The city itself as opposed to the MSA or the CSA. Vegas is funny.
Yeah, it's all self-contained because it's in the desert. You can't like go live out by yourself just a few miles out of town. Okay, here go to censusmaps.org/median_income, and then this is median income, but it's also in 3D scaled for population density, so you can see like the density of the rich and poor.
Gotcha. So darker red means a larger concentration of low income, and darker green means higher concentration of high income, as opposed to like higher income.
So yeah, it's height is density and
oh,
color
I see. It was a little harder to see. Now I can see it.
Yeah, this one could maybe be tuned a little bit. But this one's super interesting, right? Because segregation is so ingrained in our cities, our public policy. And I think that of all the things the census tracks, this is probably going to tell the most. It's going to tell a pretty significant story about urban fabric in general, right? It's like, oh, well, you live in this tract, you make a certain amount, you live in this tract, you don't. And maybe it's the color scale that needs to be tuned, but I tried to put orange at the median household income and then red for poor and green for richies. But I don't know, like I was trying to look at a few major red lines. If you look at the Bay Area, like the East Bay is where the poor people live, and then the city of San Francisco is pretty jam-packed with rich people, with the exception of the Tenderloin, which is like a little skyscraper of poverty.
Yeah.
But then it's like, people talk about the suburbanization of poverty, and I really, this map is telling me that I don't really buy it. There's a lot of poor people in cities, especially in the East Coast and in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I would say that this visualization, and again for the listener, censusmaps.org/median_income. We will throw this in the show notes. I feel like the distribution is a little clearer for me to understand what's going on in places that are more highly populated. San Francisco being a great example of seeing, okay, this is the Tenderloin. That's why this is such a massive size skyscraper of red. But in Denver, I'm looking at this map because I know the city pretty well.
Right. Tell us.
It does show the distributions of incomes and population, and I would say it confirms my understanding, which is that the highest population areas, there's a few in Denver, there's a few in Lakewood, as it's sometimes called. Lakewood is the name of the municipality west of Denver. There's a section called Lakewood, and you can see there's darker bars over there that are a little bit higher. A lot in Aurora, a couple downtown, but then throughout, a lot of Denver is this, wash of green, of dark green, where the population is somewhat dense, but not nearly as so. But, looking up to like Federal Heights, which is, on the border of Denver and the suburbs, this just shows me that, the general income in Denver is so high. The median income in the area is so high that it's a little harder to see. It feels a little less like a stark distribution. Someone might look at this and say, oh, well, Denver's fairly evenly distributed.
No,
egalitarian.
Actually, it is, though. I thought, and don't fact check me on this. Okay. Most and least economically segregated metros. Because isn't that what this map is all about?
Yes. And I think that the piece, I wouldn't be surprised if Denver is high on that list, but I would also say that like the barrier to entry is way higher than it is in Cleveland or St. Louis. Like the base rent for a studio apartment or a one bedroom apartment is significantly higher. So, yes, it's more evenly distributed, but there are just fewer poor people.
The Belonging and Othering Institute out of Berkeley. I don't know. Denver is rated as high segregation.
Because there's few incomes that are really really high, right? Like we have industries that support extremely high incomes, and so I'm sure that the total distribution of actual incomes is really high, but the way that you've done this standardizes it by census tract, which I think creates
Yeah.
a clearer distribution, or a
Well,
more
okay,
even
so should I go
distribution.
deeper because there's one more sub geography. So there are within each county there are a number of tracts. Within each tract there are a number of block groups, and within each block group there are a number of blocks. But this is all by tract, and I do believe
Hmm.
that this data can be pulled by block group. So one more geography down.
Yeah, I don't know if going more granular is yeah. No, I mean, I'm now looking at St. Louis. And in St. Louis, it tells the very, very clear story of the history of St. Louis, which is that the city
Oh yeah,
proper
this is sad.
has consistently been um, divested from. The north side of the city, in particular, is incredibly red on this map. The
This is
densities are not
this is
necessarily super
profound.
high, but then in the counties to the west, it's dark green. Like the division of incomes is super clear in a way that a city like Denver is not.
And you'll see it's like the super nice part of St. Louis is really low density, and that's a mechanism that actually that's the mechanism of economic segregation, right? It's like it's low density and that's why it's for rich people only. And then you look at East St. Louis and that's low density because it's like completely blighted, right? Man, they did East St. Louis so dirty with all this transportation infrastructure and highways. Let's look. Let's look at some of these overpasses.
It's rough. It's really rough. It's I've driven through there countless times. Um, I mean, probably not countless. Realistically, probably I don't know, 30. um, but no, I mean, this has happened in the Rust Belt in a lot of our urban areas. I know that I think it's West Little Rock is another one. I mean, that's further south than maybe what you would call the Rust Belt, but these cities that boomed during industrialization and had some thriving downtowns, thriving commercial areas like East St. Louis. Um, a lot of the cities that had these sister cities across rivers in other states, those are some of the most blighted places in the country.
And I mean, there are railroads here. There is like an insane amount of freight infrastructure in addition to, I mean, Highway 55, 64, 255, the 203. Um, it's a lot of roads.
All roads lead to St. Louis.
Like it's enough roads to make you think, I wonder if they did this because this is a black community. It's like these interchanges are horrifying. But no, St. Louis is a really good example. I don't think it's as clear as this. I haven't seen any examples that are as clear as this.
Yeah. Detroit
Yeah,
is
Detroit, you can
another
definitely
one.
see 8 Mile Road. But the people north of 8 Mile Road are still pretty modestly income. They're still like median income. It's just that there's a lot of urban poverty.
Hmm.
The Rust Belt, brother. Whew, woof. How's Buffalo looking? I know Buffalo has a pretty major red line. Nah, Buffalo's just poor all around. Buffalo's just low income. But yes, there is definitely a red line. Right there. To the left of it, we're looking at like 80,000 a year in a household. To the right of it, like 30,000.
Yeah.
So it's not as clear as St. Louis because of the color scale, but it's still there. Also, not as much density in the low-income areas. The Rust Belt. Dude, I don't know what it's like to live in a place with urban blight, right? Like, Austin has only ever grown as long as I've lived here. And I've lived here all my life.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We just have a different problem, which is cost of living. A much better problem to have because you're like you have municipal finance surplus, right?
Yeah, in theory, the resources exist to right the situation. It's not a situation where there aren't enough good jobs or, opportunities to excel because the city is growing, which just represents opportunity. But yeah, no, I mean, this is a fascinating projection visualization. And listener, you can go to if this map, censusmaps.org/median income or censusmaps.org/ what was the how you got to the last
test
one?
map.
It was the
Test map is
population
one
density.
word.
Just
Median
test
income
map.
has an underscore.
But if you just go to censusmaps.org, it's a little bit buggy, but if you click the Make Beautiful Maps, you can select a city of your choice, select a topic, and select a census topic and a census detail, and you can create your own visualizations for your city. If you're curious about, the number of people that take the bus or take public transit or ride their bikes or drive their cars in a certain city by census tract, you'll be able to see that. It's a very powerful tool. Definitely encourage you to, dig in, search the variables that are interesting to you, and let us know what you're able to pull out or any conclusions you're able to draw from using this tool. You can create density maps based on all kinds of variables, so go in and do it.
Yeah, man. No one takes the bus anywhere except for New York. A little bit of Chicago, a little bit of the Bay. The Bay's got good ridership. But, man, people be driving.
People be driving.
Big time.
That's true.
Ugh. I'm dying. Jerry, I'm dying! Ugh. That's all. No, I mean, I'm so tired of talking about cities and transportation. I just want to talk about gooning, man.
There you go.
I just want to talk about that sweet... what do gooners talk about? What is a gooner? What is gooner culture? We need to define.
I mean, again,
what
this
gooner culture means.
Well,
man.
I mean, I guess as it has been appropriated, it is currently coming into its own form, right? Because again, and we should have someone on the pod to talk about this that knows this better than I do, but gooning and gooner and goon, these are words that came out of gay culture. I have a writing partner and a friend who he's in his 60s, and the first time I encountered that word was years ago, and it was in one of his short stories, and he had to explain to me what it was. And
wow.
It was...
So you're telling me this is deep gay lore.
This is gay culture, yeah. But in the age of the internet,
wow.
where everyone has unfettered access to, pornography of all kinds, and we've just become sort of a degenerate society that doesn't know how to connect with one another, it's become mainstream.
Okay. So should we just get a new bit?
I mean, I'm ready to stop talking about gooning myself. I mean, as like the second... I mean, if you probably ran an analysis on the podcast so far, it's probably this first or second most used word.
It's in the title. It's in the title or description of like 60% of the podcasts.
And I mean, coming back to R's feedback, I mean, at least they were able to identify that this was a podcast at the intersection of queerness and transportation, which I'm on board for. But I think, we risk becoming a one-track podcast.
I'm trying to let the people know that this is a place where we have fun.
Indeed.
I just want people to know that there's goofs to be had. That there's bits, riffs, and jokes.
Of course. Then I think we need to take some more time to.
So maybe gooning, maybe gooner, maybe never come or permagooner is not the brand genius that I think it is.
I think that if you wanted to make a podcast that was actually about defining the culture of gooning moving forward as it's in its current transitional, phase from obscure gay culture item to mainstream, which is just sickening. Our world is so weird. If you wanted to be the Joe Rogan of gooning, you could do that, but that's not what we're trying to do here. That's never been what we set out to do.
No. We set out to make a quaint little podcast about the bus, cities, traffic, cities, even just cities. I'll settle for that.
Cities, yeah, and I mean, I appreciate
cities are an important technological development.
Yeah, and back in the day, if you wanted to goon, you needed to, at the very least, leave your house and go to a store that sold magazines, at the very least, or an adult film house, and you could engage in this. There was something social that you had to engage in if you were going to try to goon. And once you had that, you could become you could recede into your cave, right? Or whatever. But now with the advent of the internet and the advent of the automobile, even if you do go out somewhere to buy something to help you in your, gooning exploits, you're doing that in your car. You're maybe seeing one other person. There's nothing social about it. And as you continue to use the internet, you just become, brain dead and completely divorced from social interaction. And sex is social, right? It's weird that so many people are turning to this artificial means of pleasure. And I don't hate on it, right? Everyone should get their own. I'm not saying that anyone is wrong for doing this. I'm just saying that as a society, it's sad that so many of our outlets of being social have turned to parasocial and largely divorced from, the town square and the people in your community.
This is a direct result of Car World.
Yeah, of Car World and internet
alienation.
World.
I love it. I got nothing. I have no knocks on the information superhighway. Even if we just download porno, it's like we have the world at our fingertips in a way that no one has before. We live in the paradigm is so remarkably different that you can just do anything. You can just learn anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the real red pill of the 21st century. It's the internet has really fundamentally changed how we access information.
And the way that we interact with information and the way that we interact with other people and build communities, because we can now connect with anyone online that has the exact same niche interest as us. For whatever reason, R found our podcast and decided to listen to it. Bless their heart. At least the beginning of it, they listened to at least enough to say this sucks. I'm going to write Lucas and tell him, which is very kind. But back in the day, like in order to try to find a publication related to your interests, in this case, the intersection of queerness and transportation, it would have been much harder to find that. I don't know how R found us, but, it's the way that you can access niche communities that are very large. And I think I said this last week, but the technocrats and the social media companies, they continue to try to convince us that digital virtual spaces are as good as in-person spaces, and that we can satisfy all of our human needs in virtual spaces, which I just think is total horseshit.
You got to get out. Well, there's all sorts of businesses that sort of capitalize on the alienation and we have all this car-oriented infrastructure which forces people to live a certain way, and it just creates like a set of problems that people come in and sell to, and all the loneliness stuff, all the yeah, it just creates a market opportunity for these people to come in and be like, you'll be less lonely if you buy my service. I just fell in love with Siri.
Yeah, I mean, you just took a main line.
Sweet and sultry Siri. Sexy Siri.
But yeah, I mean, this is...
Siri on the wall.
But yeah, I mean, this is, one reason why I do at times enjoy using public transportation, and it does make my life more difficult sometimes. It takes way longer to get where I'm going. It's not as convenient. The world is built in such a way that it's dangerous for me to traverse it on foot to get to my bus stop, to get to my destination from the bus stop that I get off at. And we don't condone getting off on the bus. Or do we? I think we do. We probably do. Anyway.
No, we don't. We don't.
Only in a spiritual sense. But this is really what I'm speaking to. Is
everyone here gets off on the bus,
right?
But not like that, man.
Get off the bus. Get off on the bus as an idea, but please do not get off on the bus in a physical sense.
Look, man, we all get off on the bus here, okay? No, officer, please.
But I enjoy riding the bus because I enjoy being in my community. Like, I appreciate it when I see someone get up, or if I get up myself, to help someone lower the seat in the front of the bus so that they can sit down with their walker, or, raise the seat so that they can fit there with their power wheelchair. And just that quick moment of looking someone in the eye and nodding, and, you don't have this deep connection. You don't know their name. This is something I love about living in the city, is you have all of these social relationships with people that are because you're on the same bus route, you're in the same neighborhood, you know to sort of look out for each other, but you don't have to go super deep and get to know them or intrude on their lives at all. There's a lack of voyeurism in it that I just find really satisfying. I really appreciate being on the bus with other people. It makes me feel like I'm a part of a city as an organism, which for me is what cities are.
Well said. I can appreciate the people watching aspect, I get my because we are all alienated in today's society. So I get some of my peopling in just because I work in service, right? So that's 30 hours a week. So I mean, that in and of itself kind of these days gets it done. But sometimes I'll just go bike on the trail, see people's faces pass by. That kind of calms the psyche, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I know what you're talking about. It's
there are other times on the bus.
Yeah, where I'm like, get the fuck away from me. Where you look at that person who you've maybe seen a couple times, and you're both thinking to each other, if it's us or this crackhead, we're gonna kill the crackhead.
I mean,
you're like,
yeah. I mean, there's times on the bus where
it's you're looking at the other
dicey.
Normies, and you're like, I got your back if you got mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've talked to people on the bus. There's this one guy I've talked to on the bus who we essentially shared that moment of eye contact. And he sort of made a joke to me. He was an older black gentleman, and he expressed that he was from New York, and that, like, in Denver, like, people will just leave you to get got by the street people. But he was like, I know you got my back. I saw you. We got each other's back, you and me. And I was like, okay, yeah, man, absolutely. I got you. But
I feel like everybody has had that moment on the bus. You just like your eyes are screaming, looking for another normal person to be like, "Oh, I got you if you got me."
mm-hmm. And you, like, the operator.
Is this as crazy as I think it is?
Mm-hmm. And then the operator is hoping that the bus is full of people like that too, so that the operator doesn't have to intervene beyond the job that they're already performing.
Bro, there's a bus driver, hardest job in America. Hardest fucking job in America.
Bus operator.
Truly the pinnacle of public service.
100%. And, you know, sometimes it gets dicey, or people don't want to move for people. And, you know, I try to assist as best I can. And, you know, I've had a lot of moments with operators where they have to finally get up and they're like, no, come on, move. But yeah, nothing but respect for the operators of our public transit systems around the country. Especially in, you know, my neck of the woods, where the majority of people, I mean, the vast majority of people who use the bus are down a peg in society, whether they're unable to operate a car due to a physical disability, or don't own a car due to financial reasons, or, you know, your car breaks down, like whatever the case may be. You can sense that on the bus in Denver, and I appreciate being there with people, holding the line. Once you're navigating the roads that are filled with just absolute jag-off drivers, that one of my coworkers came into work the other day, and we got, like, it was down to like 20 degrees. We got like 3 or 4 inches of snow. The last snowstorm, the snow hadn't melted, so the roads were pretty dicey. And one of my coworkers came in who had driven to work, and now I'm like second guessing myself. Anyway, he had operated his car to get to work, and he was like, this fucking bus driver like pulled over because he had to like get over and turn left, and he just like totally cut me off. And I was like, well, you know, dude, I mean, there's a ton of snow on the road. If the bus even has like 4 people on it, there's a lot more people trying to get where they need to go than you in your car. Like, can't you just wait literally like 3 seconds for the bus to merge? And he was like, yeah, but it's just the principle. Like, I was there. I was there. And I was like, come on, bro.
One day. No, it's like we're so deep into car brain, you can't expect any rational thought to come out of any person in America. Like, we're so deep into hell world that I've never heard a normie have any fucking like coherent thought about transportation. So we should just ignore them, take away all their lanes, ban cars completely, and we'll save thousands of lives a month.
A day, like not 1,000 probably, but, you know, potentially dozens of lives per day across these great United States.
Every day, Texas kills 10 people. Every day, just in Texas, 100,000 people, 10,000 people a year hit by a car in Texas.
Bananas.
What is that? How many people a day is that?
You're the math monster.
That's 27 people. That's one person every hour gets clocked. Some of them die. Most of them are fine. Some of them get hurt. Some of them are permanently disfigured. People with disabilities are more likely to be hit by a car. Elderly people are more likely to be hit by a car. These are problems that affect everybody, but they affect certain groups of people more than others. That's definitely, I think, something that's important to get right in the framing of the problem. These incidents occur more often in low-income neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's intersectional with the other...
We got jokes!
Yeah, it's intersectional with the other violent pieces of our society. and the way that our cities are, because of how policy and development have created them.
Our built environment is a manifestation of white supremacy and violence towards people of color.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And now in a moment where, the government is, really mask off full imperial white supremacy, we have to be even more vocal and even more protective of the people who are most vulnerable in our society. Yes, they deserve mercy. We deserve mercy.
We've got to get harder and stiffer on this problem.
We got to really get pumping on this problem.
Yeah, we got to get... Oh my goodness. Gabagooner. Hey Tony, you got the gabagoon?
Oui.
What's the deal with gooning? What's the deal with traffic deaths?
You should definitely be scraping the internet for...
I can't find a place to park in New York.
You should definitely be scraping the internet for gooning-related car accidents, because I'm sure that at this point it's happening. I mean, the Q documentary that was on HBO a while ago. I mean, the what the hell's the name of the guy who was basically doing Q? Come on, I know this.
Who's Q? You're saying you know who Q is?
Well, yeah, basically we know that it's Ron Watkins, right? And it changed.
It was his server
significantly,
or something. It was IP,
and,
right?
Yeah, and there was just a lot of evidence to indicate that, whether it was them that started it or where it came out of exactly, they definitely were manipulating it to their own benefits, he and his people. But in that documentary, he's driving around his area in his car with, porn literally going on the dashboard. So he's literally, he was gooning while he was driving, essentially.
Phenomenal.
And I'm sure that at this point there are definitely, pornography and masturbation related traffic deaths. I'm sure they exist. That's probably the darkest intersection of this, but
yeah. I doubt. I mean, I don't know. I think more are murders, if anything. I think there's a lot of murders in there. Just deep down, I've got this gut feeling that maybe, because it's just such an easy, the same way that money laundering is essentially impossible to stop. It's so is this. In under this system, you can kind of just kill anyone you want. And as long as you're smart about it, then yeah, it's none of these deaths get prosecuted. None of them. It's 4% of these deaths end up with someone going to jail. So it's I don't know, the criminals are smart. Criminals are really smart.
It's true, yeah. I mean, is there any sort of forensic way? Yeah. I mean, is there any forensic way to try to identify the markers of when that might be happening?
The VIN of the car. So if, maybe there's one car in New York that hit a bunch of Teamsters or something, right? But no, the VIN is public. The VIN of every car involved in a fatal incident is public. So you'd maybe use that for a forensic analysis.
Yeah. It would be hard to kind of split the data between, because I'm sure that there are, absolutely to your point, premeditated uses of motor vehicles to murder people that are not currently being counted that way. But I mean, you've brought this up before. There's also just a large number of moments of road rage where people decide to kill a cyclist in the moment, right?
Right. It's so common. So common. It's if you ride bikes in cities, you know that people will take their anger out on you with their car on a really, really regular basis. It's like an inevitability so much that you just learn to deal with it.
We definitely are in a place where we need to stand against violence of all kinds, and this is one that has flown under the radar for a long time and is just baked into the way that our world works. And it's sad. It's really sad.
Come on, this is a jokes podcast. You see what happens when we don't talk about gooning? The balance, Jerry.
Okay,
It's off.
I need to
Something's
reiterate that this piece of feedback, and my position is not that we need to stop talking about gooning and making jokes, right? It's that, we need to weave these things in a little bit more better, and I think expand.
Yeah.
I think finding some ways to like standardize segments and things like that might help us find a little bit more direction. Some structure might help, and I know that's a bad word for you, but
the thing about jazz man, is you gotta have rhythm. Pop. Jazz. 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 No, you're right. It's like we can have jazz, but we gotta have rhythm.
Exactly.
Does that make sense? I feel like that was actually a very coherent point.
You definitely found your way to that point in a beautiful way. I love you, man. I think that's the best way to put it. I think if we're going to play jazz, we need to play with rhythm. Yeah, 100%.
I know. I'd love some segments, and I think with segments, with guests, it'll all come together. Yeah, we got to have a couple segments. We got to have a guest. Because the guest is going to really drive home whatever topic we want to talk about that week, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to have, we're going to have something to talk about.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, let's make sure to track down a guest. Listeners, if you're out there, you can write in. We'd love to have you on the pod. Obviously, I can't imagine.
If you ride the bus, you are invited.
Yeah. If you ride a bike, you're invited. If you walk, you're invited. No car users. No, you can come too.
Yeah, if you drive, we don't really want to talk to you.
Well, if you drive,
not the point of this podcast.
Prepare to be grilled.
Yeah. We're gonna say, like, are you weak? Why are you so weak? Why don't you bike there? Do you want to be stronger?
Do you want your wife to respect you?
Yeah. How is your wife?
Yeah.
Is she getting my emails?
Has she been receiving my letters? Yeah. And in the meantime, stay safe out there. I released a little bit of new content this week from my Substack, which is called Lucas's Little Library. I know I've talked about it on the pod before. You can search my name, Lucas Riley. It's like O'Reilly without the O. Ben is going to put this information in the show notes as well.
I'll do my best. Yeah, I'll do that this week.
I released a first episode of a podcast that I'm doing, essentially just audio essays. It's called Silly Separatist. Silly Separatist is the name of the podcast, and I'm talking about some of my favorite historical figures, people from literature, contemporary figures that stand outside of the culture that they were born into. Maybe I'll do an episode about Ben. We'll be releasing content, probably every other week. Please feel free to go and take a listen. It's available on Spotify as well. That's Silly Separatist. Other than that, you can reach me at Blurbinist, at gmail.com. I'm also on Patreon and Instagram and Threads as Blurbinist. So please get in touch. Would love to hear from you. If anybody wants to poach me and steal me away from this podcast and leave Ben out on an island, I am 100% ready to do that.
You're not allowed to leave. I need one other freak to join me.
I'll never leave.
All right, I love you, buddy. I'm Ben Carnero. If you need me, please reach out to me at ben@roadway.report or ben@bencarnero.com. Yeah, hell yeah, brother. I make maps and websites. I have no qualifications.
But you do have a lot of heart, and you know a lot about gooning now.
Yeah, so do the people. So does the Gooner Army. Oh, boy.
All right, well, I'm going to
Gooner
sign
Army,
off
rise
here.
up. We'll see you next week. And whatever you do, don't you dare come.
But if you do have to come on the bus. But not on the bus. I mean, by bus.
No,
You
yeah.
know what I mean.
Get off the bus before you get off.
Yeah, get off the bus.
Okay. We're at the If you need us, we'll be getting off on the bus. Don't goon. Wait. Fuck.
Oh, I think the listener gets the point here. But yeah, ta-ta for now. Be well. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, you too, bro.
All right. Love you, Ben. Bye.
Oh, that's another one for the books. Take it easy.
All right.